Today, we're painting Éomer and his horse, Firefoot. Éomer is an important and interesting character. In The Return of the King, Éomer speaks these words as he rides into battle. Out of doubt, out of dark, to the day's rising, I came singing in the sun, sword unsheathed, to hope's end I rode, and to heart's breaking. Now for wrath, now for ruin, and a red nightfall. It's that mix of sorrow and strength that make me love Éomer, and I wanted to do his mini justice. So I'm going to relax, enjoy, and take a little extra time with my paint job for this one. Let's start with Éomer first, and we'll paint Firefoot once Éomer is ready. There isn't much skin to paint on the model, only the face. I give it a coat of Bugman's Glow, then a wash of Reichland Flesh Shade. I thin down Kislev Flesh and I apply a few thin coats, only to the highlights on the face. I clean up the beard with some white and give it a coat of Pallid Bone Speed Paint. I use the same Pallid Bone for the hair. I find this paint gives a really nice blonde tone for hair. I'm using Broadsword Silver to cover the metals. My initial reaction to this paint was that I just don't like it, and honestly I hate the finish once it's dried. But when you apply matte varnish on top, it gives almost a non-metallic metal look, which I really do like. Now the chainmail on Éomer is slightly rusted, so I'll go in quite heavy with an almost wash of rust earth, then I'll darken that down with some Nuln Oil, and we'll highlight it back up later. The plume of Éomer is a greyish white, so I apply a quick coat of Holy White. Now onto the intricate detail on Éomer's armour, and there is a lot of it. I pick up a new brush, a size 0, series 8404, which is my brush of choice for detailed work. Kind of expensive, but I think it's worth it. For the paint, I'm using Alizarin Crimson from Chimera Colours. I've used this red before, it's very transparent and it takes a few coats for full coverage, but it goes on really nicely and I love the colour. While there's a lot of detail, it's very nicely sculpted and it's raised off the surface. Just keep working around the model with a little bit of patience and you'll get there. I also painted the bag, but the white undercoat made it a little bit too bright, so I dull it down by adding a wash of Agrat's Earthshade. For the gloves, boots and saddle, I mix Garagak Sewer with contrast medium, roughly 50-50. If you've watched any of my previous videos, you'll know I love ultra matte varnish. So time to give him a coat before we add the true metallic metals. I add lead belcher to the scale mail and helmet and sword. I really like lead belcher, but I feel I need to explore some more metallic paint ranges. If you have any suggestions on good metallics, let me know in the comments. Now, let's cover those metals with Nuln Oil. I add a light, almost dry brush to the chainmail, just enough to bring back a few highlights. As the third Marshal of the Riddermark and a high-ranking noble, Éomer is adorned with quite a lot of gold. We'll bring that out with Liberator Gold on his helmet, his sword, saddle, and scabbard. And there we go, Éomer is ready to jump on Firefoot's back and charge across the Pelennor fields. Firefoot is a grey horse with his face lighter than the rest of his body. It fades to a dark grey at the rump. I added Gravelord Grey speed paint with the airbrush from the back to create a subtle gradient effect. I add a few specks of black into the fur, I dip it in a wire brush with some grim black and flick it onto Firefoot from the front. This leaves a few random splatters on the fur. The hooves, tail and mane all get a full coating of black. Oxide brown light is added to the tack, the bridle and girth. I add a touch of black for the saddle and chamfron. The tack rings get painted with lead belcher, and it all gets shaded with Agrax Earthshade. Absolution Green speed paint is a pretty good match for Rohan Green, so let's add that to the saddle blanket. I give it a coat of matte varnish. The base is a pretty simple affair, some texture earth paste and a few rocks, a wash with Agrax Earthshade, rimmed in black, a little dry brush with Baneblade Brown, and a couple of grass tufts. Now Éomer and Firefoot are ready to ride and not let the king stand alone. I really enjoyed painting Éomer. I know I jumped around the paint brands for this one, but I really just wanted to relax and enjoy the painting. When painting for YouTube, I often use a limited palette or I stick to one brand, so it's much easier for people to follow along. Anyway, that's all for now. Until next time, happy painting.